All right, welcome to Brave Voices in Leadership and Education, the podcast where boldness meets brilliance and healing meets hustle. I'm Craig Aaron's Martin, and I created this space for educators, for leaders, and change makers who refuse to shrink. This is kind of where Beyonce's Freedom and Kendrick Lamar's Fire meets school hallways and boardrooms. We're about to reimagine what education and leadership can sound like. It can be fierce, it can be unapologetic, joyful, and rooted in justice. If you're ready, let's lead out loud. This is Brave Voices in Education. So, fam, today's guest is somebody who embodies what it means to lead with purpose, power, and heart for community. Corey is not just an executive, he is a movement builder. He is a nonprofit leader, social justice activist, and educator who's been showing up and pouring into Boston's young people and communities of color for over 15 years. He currently serves as executive director of 826 Boston, an incredible, and I do mean incredible organization, creating spaces for student voice, writing, publishing, and possibly for the K 12 youth and beyond. Well, listen, Corey's leadership receipts, they run deep, baby. He's a former assistant principal at Brooke High School, a former executive director of the Hispanic Black Gay Coalition, and he currently sits on the Roxbury Community College Board of Trustees, hoping to shape access and opportunity for students right here in the city. He is someone I deeply respect because he knows leadership ain't just about titles. It's about showing up for your people and creating spaces where folks can thrive, tell their truth, and live free. Corey, my brother, my friend, welcome to Brave Voices in Education. Tell the people your story. Who are you, and how does this work call you in?
Ooh, thank you. Thank you for that introduction. Thank you for having me. Congratulations on the launch of your podcast. Really looking forward to all the episodes ahead. And that is a loaded question to start with. Who are you? Man,
Yes.
so many things come to mind.
Mm.
First and foremost, I am a proud gay Black man from the
Mhm.
South. So I grew up in Norfolk, Virginia. That experience shapes who I am today. A lot of times people ask me, what was the moment that you knew you wanted to do this work? And by work, I mean social justice education work. And it goes all the way back to my own high school experience. I went to a high school in Norfolk, Virginia called Booker T. Washington High School. And historically, it was the Black only school back in the day, right? But as we know, many schools across the country are still very much so segregated and under resourced. And so when I was a ninth grader at the time, I think it was like 1999. I gave my age away a little bit there,
Ooh.
but I looked around my high school and I looked at other high schools in the same district, literally like 3 or 4 miles away from my high school. And I asked questions like, why does my high school not have working AC? Or why, are my textbooks all, ripped and tattered? And why don't we have the best academic and athletic supplies? Whereas, another school called Maury High School, a few miles away, has an indoor swimming pool and have state of the art technology and AP classes to take. So that was my first time in my life asking the question why.
Mm.
And when I start to get answers to the whys and understand how the educational system worked, how it's funded, I realized the inequities that existed. And around the time I read Savage Inequalities as well, and that was also the moment where like everything started to connect in terms of the educational system and how it was impacting me. And so that led my journey to eventually go to James Madison and get a degree in social justice and be on this path of community organizing and movement building.
Wow.
And that's just one of the whys, but yeah, some other ones I would love to share as well.
I'm like, folks are leaning in. I'm like, I just learned about you going to James Madison, and
Mm.
so I'm curious of all the institutions growing up south. Why did you choose James Madison as a place where you continue your education career?
Good question. Honestly, a scholarship. I One of the things I also did in high school was join the debate team. That was part of like trying to understand more of the whys and get involved in my community and be, get the skills to become a young advocate. And so was successful at that in high school, and James Madison was one of the colleges that offered me a scholarship. So I'm the first in my family to attend and graduate college. And at
Okay.
that time, my parents didn't know what this was all about. They were just like, I'm seeing big dollar signs and I don't know if you can do it. So
Mm.
we're gonna go with the cheapest option. And
Okay.
so those
Understand.
scholarships were clutch. But I'm glad I did it. It was a liberal arts school, had an amazing experience. Ended up qualifying, doing debate all 4 years and qualifying for the national debate tournament twice.
Wow.
So no regrets. It's part of the journey.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, one of the real interesting things about, being a Southerner, because I, grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana, I made a decision to go to Dillard University, a historically Black university in New Orleans.
Right.
And I only picked 3 schools. I don't even think that I left the state in regards to my choice in education. I knew I wanted to go to a community where I would continue to see more of us and see more folks who I went to school with, possibly, but I wanted to stay in the state because the state had nourished me with soul food, liberation stories. My mom grew up, following the Black Panther movement, Black Power movement.
Right.
And for me, she was one of my first teachers. And so when I think about, I didn't know at the time that there was a lineage of us desiring to all be educated in historically Black colleges and universities. My sister went to Southern University as well. My mom went to Southern University and got her bachelor's and master's degree. And my brother went to Tuskegee. So we all had become college educated in a historically Black construct. And so when I came here to Boston, I decided I knew I wanted to go to Leslie University here. Knew I wanted to get I knew I wanted to get a liberal arts education degree from an institution that also integrated arts, because music has always been part of my magic, right? And so I am curious for you, as you look at a variety of issues that are coming up today. You are at a very interesting intersection where young people come through your doors from kindergarten all the way through college, right? Even your alumni are, college age. You now have some folks who are actually adults and giving back to the organization at 826.
Right.
But I'm like, for all the things that you do and all of who you are, right now, what might be an issue or a couple of issues that you are caping for? Like you are standing 10 toes deep down in and leveraging your voice in regards to this space we're in.
Man, I feel like everything. I was gonna say democracy, just like trying to keep this country afloat and have Black people be seen and have a voice and not have their history erased. I feel like it's so many different things, but I mean, I think given there's so many different things and it can feel overwhelming to pick one issue. I tend to focus on trying to create spaces for youth, because I truly do feel like, the solutions to a lot of the social ills that we face, the new voice that's going to inspire a generation to organize and do things like our incredible ancestors like Bayard Rustin and Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, that they did, is going to be the mind and the voice of a young person. And so while I'm not giving up on myself, I am putting my energies and my love into building up young people, because I do believe that they are going to bring those solutions. And so I'm all about breaking down the barriers that young people may face to lead, and creating more leadership development opportunities for them to get the skills and the knowledge and the confidence to be able to do that. Because I was in that situation at once. You mentioned, me being the executive director of the Hispanic Black Gay Coalition. My husband and I started that organization when I was 23 years old. Right. And we did it because I moved to Boston and I could not find community. I was going to LGBTQ spaces and, was feeling the racism there, feeling, the fetishization of being, the Black body in the room. So I didn't feel comfortable there. And then I was going to all Black spaces and feeling like I couldn't hold my partner's hand without getting dirty looks. And so we decided to be the change we wanted to see. And I realized, one, I learned a lot from that and I have experience from doing that, but also I know it's difficult to do. So I want to create avenues for young people to do that for themselves.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you, and I also really want to lift up, Bayard Rustin, who talks about us needing to be a group of angelic troublemakers, especially in this generation. I think that this generation has found themselves even more ignited by speaking truth to power because
Hmm.
we have multiple ways to be able to leverage our voice, whether or not it's TikTok or IG or whatnot. And what you have in regards to just a part of your genius is really hoping to not only lead and create a space for angelic troublemakers to do magical things and get the tools they need, but you also are helping them to inform how they can disrupt with heart. You're leading with joy. You're leading with truth, and you're hoping to co-create and build a world with these young people that helps them to feel like they will not shrink. They will survive. They will thrive in this time. And so you and I briefly talked about, the a number of the executive orders and just just the tone of politics and how it's situating itself right now, whether or not it's the dismantling of the Department of Education or whether or not it's the removal or gutting federal funding that's supporting programs that our youth can absolutely benefit from, have been benefiting from.
Hmm.
I'm curious for you, as you are navigating this with your leadership hat, you're thinking about the intersections of young people who you're serving, who many times may be Black and brown,
Right.
maybe at the intersections of gender, LGBTQ. They may be immigrants. They may be first generation college students. As you're looking at the different identities that intersect with you, and also knowing you want to co-create this space, how are you helping them to shape their own voice and vision for themselves as we look at the world continuing to shapeshift in front of them?
Right. Yeah, first and foremost, and I'll combine that with what you were saying about like federal funding and how that's impacting me and my work at this time. Right now, I have to support youth by having their back, unfortunately, because of the cuts in federal funding. And so a lot of people don't know nonprofits right now are feeling the hit in different ways. Particularly for us, we felt the hit through the DEI restrictions. And so for those who aren't familiar, there was an executive order passed saying that federal funding cannot be used for DEI activities. And so an organization like mine, we get $250,000 of federal funding
Mm.
currently. And so I actually received one of those dreaded emails to say, you have by X date to certify that you do not engage in DEI activities. And of course, my first question was, how do you define DEI activities? And they were just like, we can't tell you that, consult with your lawyers and come up with your own definition, which I think is part of the chaos and the disruption that they're trying to create now. And to make a long story short, after consulting with our lawyers, we decided that we are DEI activities because we are a writing and publishing organization, and many of the books that we publish that are written by our students are elevating some of the identities and the stories that you're talking about. So like immigrant experiences of students experiencing oppression in this country. And so right now, my job is to have the backs of students to say those stories matter. And we don't want you to check your identities and your experiences at the door. And even if it means losing federal funding, we are going to find a way to elevate those stories unapologetically. And so I wish my time and my focus didn't have to be there, because I just feel like that should be a guarantee and I should be able to move to the next step of how do we amplify those stories and get them into many hands as possible. But unfortunately, given the federal administration, I am just fighting for the voices of students to be out there and to be out there uncensored.
Mm. Could you share a little bit more context about how have you all how are you all defining DEI work in your organization?
Hmm. So, and again, this was through consulting with our lawyers and just, trying to understand what could come back to bite us later if we were to say, we're not DEI activities. Yeah, well, keep giving us those checks. Um,
Mhm.
but the
Yeah.
consequence of eventually doing that is realizing that we we being my organization could not be involved in any type of lesson or instruction that elevates identity or talk about um, historical oppression. And so for me, that could be anything like for example, I'm in my office right now, and this book right here, The Great Cost of Freedom, students learned about the Haitian Revolution, right? And then wrote about how that revolution inspires them today. So my team was telling me, and my legal counsel was telling me a book like this would not be possible because we can't engage students on the Haitian Revolution because that's technically a historical movement against oppression. And so for me, that's about not telling the truth and not engaging our students on the truth. And the fact that we're engaging students who come from these backgrounds, such as Haitian immigrants who live in Boston, um, is offensive. And it's just like straight up anti everything I stand for. So that's just one example where it was just kind of like, there's no way I could commit to not doing that. And I don't even want to pretend like we're not doing it. I want to live boldly and authentic and say, yes, we are DEI activities. And we will just find alternative sources of funding to sustain that work.
Mm. Well, you already lead into the question that I definitely want to talk about in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But just for those who aren't aware, some of the key executive orders that have really set the tone is like there's one that's calling ending radical and wasteful governmental DEI programs and preferencing, and then there's another one that talks about illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this is so contrived in regards to, I think what they're trying to say is we want to eliminate anything that feels black. I'm just I'm being strongly about it, but
Yeah.
that's how I feel. Anything that's LGBTQ, but if people really dug into this, they would understand that this is also for those who are neurodiverse, for women, right? And looking at the disparities of pay equity, and opportunities in hiring and leadership opportunities for folks. There's so many things that are impacted by this. We have the Civil Rights Act from 1964.
Mm-hmm.
We have Title IX that prohibits sex-based discrimination. We have Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, IDEA, Equal Pay Act. There's so many components to this work, and I think that when this presidential administration and those who have decided to ally themselves against, with these policies and practices, they're doing something that I don't think that the American public really understands deeply
Mm-hmm.
in regards to this. Every advancement and movement for gender equality, racial equality, for protections for queer and trans folks, for protections for bodily autonomy and more,
Mm-hmm.
all have come from, folks who fought for civil rights
Mm-hmm.
and human rights. And so as you think about, for you, Corey, you have again named a number of ways and that you are in consultation with your attorneys and your community to really say, hey, we are going to continue to move forward in this work. And I really have, my other question or my next question was, when was the last time you showed up and were brave for a cause in education? And so I think this is kind of leading into that. And so
Yeah.
whether or not it's this or whether or not it's another space that you feel also very prominent in your spirit, when was the last time you showed up and felt brave in something that was centered on education?
Yeah, I would definitely say it is this topic because I think it's one thing to take a stance and to say, I proudly do diversity, equity, and inclusion work. But it's
Mm,
another thing to know you're going to take a financial hit and your organization is going to take a financial hit, right,
yeah.
for it. And so we've had to restructure our staffing and the way our programming team looks for next year based on this decision. And that people are now telling me is courageous within itself because again, it is another sign that you're
Mhm.
sticking by your values. I've had other executive directors of nonprofits text me and email me to say, we're trying to decide what to do right now. And so your voice, not only making the decision, but being super public about it. Because I
Yeah.
also want to distinguish the two, because some other organizations are making the decision, but deciding not to go public because they don't want to have a target on their back one way or another.
Yeah.
But we made a decision and we're standing in it and we're going public with it. And so I
Mm.
received a lot of love saying that's courageous within itself,
Yeah.
which I embrace. But, I've had to do that throughout my career. Like starting the Hispanic Black Gay Coalition was courageous as this new person in town, trying to create this organization and boldly saying it doesn't exist, so I'm going to create it.
Hmm.
When I was at Brooke Charter School, I fought to bring more restorative justice practices into their disciplinary policies. That was courageous at the
Yeah.
time because it took a lot of hard work, especially after the pandemic, to just say, we're not always going to go the punitive route. We're going to invest in these babies and these students, and put in the extra work to support them. And so, I'm proud of that, and I'm standing in the fact that I've been courageous in the past to just know
Mm.
that that's going to carry me through my current challenge.
Mm. Mm. Few people know and are aware of the scars that you're healing from, and how
Mhm.
it even takes you and, me and others who are leading this work to also be courageous enough to lean in just a little bit more, because the question is like, yeah, we'll stand out for our community, we're willing to do that because we feel like that's our calling and that's what's right. But
Right.
few really also recognize what are the consequences, positive and negative, that come with some of those decisions and choices that you make, in order to do that work. And so I'm curious for you, as I think about Beyonce's Cozy, for
Which is
those
my
who
favorite song from Renaissance. So thank you for elevating that.
what?
Yeah.
Why is this one of your favorite songs?
I mean, I don't know. Because it's all about being comfortable in your skin and owning that and standing in it. I like the queer elements in it, how she
Mhm.
actually talks through, I don't know if people catch this, but she talks through each color of the rainbow flag, I think, towards the bridge of the song. And that's actually my
Mhm.
favorite part of the song. But yeah, no, I think it's all about living unapologetically and proudly in your own skin. So anytime I
Mhm.
need a reminder or like an anthem about bravery, that's my go-to from Renaissance.
Yeah, she's like, I'm dark brown, dark skin, light skin, beige, fluorescent beige.
Yeah.
I'm black, right?
Not to mention T.S. Madison, icon in the
Yes.
community. So yeah, having her be a part of that song is awesome too.
And isn't it something that for me, I like this album, Renaissance, is one of the reasons why I feel like I have a battery in my back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't know that this album that came out in 2022 was going to be such an like a unifying anthem or set of anthems for me
Mm-hmm.
as I think about this time. And granted, I have radically had to be who I am at the intersections of being black and queer and American and 6'3" and more.
Mm-hmm.
And I recognize that this has been such triumphant work for me to find my voice. And I'm glad to invite you and others to engage in conversations around how we have to find a way to not only stand 10 toes down on things that we care about, what we matter, but we also have to take care of ourselves, because rest is absolutely necessary. It's may
Absolutely.
feel radical because we all, as leaders, we're constantly feeling like we got to stay on top of things, to keep doing things, to keep things moving, but we also have to take care of ourselves. I know personally that you work out. I know you are a tennis player as well, but I'm curious, as you for the folks who are also thinking, hey, this is heavy work that Corey's talking about. That's a lot because it's very much in front of young people. And I know you have a wonderful husband that is a dear friend in heart as well. But how are you taking care of yourself? So when you take the cape off from standing for justice in all of the ways that you have chosen to do so, how do you take that cape off and be able to take care of yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think you named it in terms of like physically active, so gym and tennis. Just giving myself permission to rest and listening to my body. Like this morning, I wanted to get up at 7 a.m. and I wanted to go to a cafe and knock out some emails and do some work. And my body was like, nah. And I just, especially since it's the weekend, I have more privilege to listen to my body. I just,
Okay.
slept in and
Mm,
just rested up. But I think in addition to that, I give myself permission to make mistakes, and I'm not
mm,
hard on myself.
mm.
I just at a staff meeting on Friday, I reminded my team, like, we are in, excuse my language. Can I cuss on this podcast? Is this PG? This G? But
Yeah.
I literally was like, we're in a fucked up situation right now that we didn't ask to be in, right?
Yeah.
This administration is intentionally trying to divide our communities,
Mm,
disrupt, and create chaos, right?
yeah.
And so the fact that as an organization, I had to make a decision less than a month and a half ago to withdraw from federal funding and restructure our staffing model.
Yeah.
Yes, that's hard work. And yes, we're going to make some mistakes along the way and, wish there could have been more transparency as I made that quick decision.
Mm,
But the reality is we've been put in this situation by,
mhm.
an administration that wants to silence youth voices. And
Yeah.
so the fact that we're even showing up in this moment, no matter
Yes.
how we are doing it, no matter how messy and frustrating it is to get to the solution, the
Mm,
fact that we are waking up and coming back to the table every single day is success within itself. So we're
yeah.
going to give each other grace and permission to fail, to
Yes.
let it be messy and
Hmm.
learn from that mess, and we're going to celebrate it on the other side.
Mm,
And so I try not to be perfect and try not
mm.
to, be too hard on myself and just reflect and learn from it.
Uh, Thank you for sharing that. I am inspired because I haven't. I feel like I have the opportunity to see just how you move, and you have inspired me. You have been a listening ear for me. You have talked me off the ledge. We talked about some very personal conversations, especially when it comes down to navigating this space of being Black and queer and male, and I would say cisgender, right? And add that layer, and just the tenseness that even comes up with all of us are working in this education space towards the same goals, but even internally there's still layers of tension
Mm-hmm.
that exist because some people, and I'll say men, some men
Mm-hmm.
particularly, may feel a sense of tenseness or a sense of, and I don't want to say it's threat, but I know that we could be doing so much more if we were able to say, hey, we are all united around this one thing,
Mm-hmm.
and we all want to know, we want our community to be better. What are the ways we can actually look beyond these stereotypes, these things that have always been divisive for us, and lean in with a sense of intention that I think is important. And so, for those who are looking for a nugget today from you, and you are today's teacher for them, and I think about Break My Soul, which is one of my favorite tracks, all three different versions of that, there's probably like 500,000. But one of the things that I think about with Break My Soul is ancestrally, we just have we have something in us that's undeniable and unapologetic, and we step into this because we know that this thing we do is greater than ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is one way you are hoping people will become braver in their own, in their humanity when it comes to education? So maybe there is one nugget of wisdom you would want to offer to someone to say, hey, out of all the things you could do, if you could just do this,
Mm-hmm.
what would your offering be to them?
Man, I wish. I mean, this is gonna sound so basic, but it's honestly just to show up and be present and to have a voice. And again, to combine that with what I was just saying about perfectionism, sometimes I feel like we need to have it all together, and it needs to sound, inspiring and moving, and you got to know all the answers to the follow-up questions that you're going to receive on something. And it's like sometimes no, you just have to initiate the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
allow that to spark inspiration in the next person that can maybe carry on your idea or have it spark something that inspires them to create something. So it's to not wait and to not overthink the impact that you want to make, but
Yeah.
just lead with your experiences and to just speak openly about that.
Yeah.
I think, speaking of ancestors, and this is just something I want to uplift. Given this April, and April is the month that, my brother passed away by suicide years ago. And he's someone who motivates me to do this work. And he motivates me to do the work because we were close growing up, but as we hit adult age, we were siloed because we were both struggling with our own things. I was struggling with my sexuality. I was afraid to open up with him about it. He had his own struggles that I think played a role in him eventually taking his life. But I realized that I wish that if I had just opened up and just said a little bit about what I was going through, or even like hinted at the fact that I was struggling with something, I think it would have gave him permission to open up about what he was struggling with. And, I would hope and think that we would have been able to support each other during that time. And so that's often a motto that I live by today in terms of just being vulnerable enough to put my cards on the table, because it gives permission to put their cards on the table. And then together we can figure this shit out and, move our lives forward. So that's the nugget. Again, I hope it inspires someone. But be brave enough to be vulnerable and have that spark vulnerability in the next person.
Well, I want to just extend my heart, man, in to you and to your loved ones as you navigate this season right now. And I'm most hearted that you shared it, and that you are continuing to amplify and exemplify the spirit and tenacity of your brother, and that's powering you. And but my heart goes out to you as well, because that's something so dear, that may feel tender at times, right?
Absolutely. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. And for those who are on this podcast and, have heard this part of Corey's story and are looking for resources, there definitely is a lifeline.org. And so they provide free confidential support for anyone who is experiencing some challenges. We have the Black Line as well, which is www.callblackline.com. And so that prioritizes BIPOC community support. And we'll share some additional resources as well. I know Trevor Project has a free lifeline, and as well as Trans Lifeline for those who are part of our trans community. And so thank you so much for leaning in a little bit more with your story, Corey. And so before we close out, I would love to see if you're willing to lean in and play a quick game with me.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. This is just a game to find out how bold you are in all of your endeavors.
Okay.
But it's fun. It is fun. And so this is coming out of a place of love, no judgment, but the people need to know some things. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw out a couple of quick scenarios, and you would tell me you would do it. You just say, yeah, brave, I absolutely would do it, or absolutely not. You're like, nah, I wouldn't do that. Okay?
All right. Are you going to hold me to this? Are these actual things? You going to find me later and be like, yo, you said you can do this.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. So hold me accountable.
We were talking earlier about travels. And so one of the interesting things in Bangkok, Thailand is you could have a cricket taco. And so I'm curious, if you were out in the streets, would you actually enjoy a cricket taco at a street market?
I absolutely would. I love trying new foods. In Ecuador, I tried guinea pig and fried worms. So cricket's nothing. Bring it on.
Oh, wow. Was that with hot sauce?
I didn't know there was no hot sauce around, but I would love some hot sauce for the crickets.
I need somebody to supply me with a couple beers like this. Let me throw it back. Let me wash. Let me get my system ready.
Right. And you said what, a taco? So we're gonna have lettuce and all that, and I don't have to eat cricket straight. Yeah, that's easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Let's see. Would you go skydiving for a milestone birthday?
Ooh, this year is a milestone birthday. I'm turning 40 this year, but
okay.
I don't know. I'm gonna pass on that one.
Okay,
I
so you're
haven't
like,
even,
nah, I'm not gonna
yeah,
do
I
that.
haven't even gone zip lining. So let me work my way up to skydiving.
Okay, well, would you actually compete on Survivor or The Amazing Race?
I would do that.
Hmm.
I would do that. Yeah.
Okay.
I like
All
the
right.
challenge.
What show?
I have always wanted to be on a reality TV show. So for me, it's less about like the challenges and more about the experience of meeting random people and being on TV.
That's what's up. That's what's
Yeah.
up. Speaking of TV, would you ever be a guest on a reality TV show?
Oh, I definitely would. I would love that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Any scouts out there, email me. We'd love to be a part of
I'm
it.
just saying. I'm just saying. Like, okay, we're gonna make sure we tag your information.
Right.
So this is the last one. So karaoke, solo, stone cold sober in front of strangers.
No. I believe it. Absolutely not. I not only can I not sing,
Uh-huh.
but believe it or not, I mean, you probably know this because we're friends, but I'm a big introvert. I'm actually very shy, so it takes liquid courage for me sometimes to get in front of people, especially like karaoke.
Hmm.
So no.
Okay. I have done karaoke. I don't think I've ever done sober karaoke. Um, I have I've sung in a choir. So, maybe if you consider the church choir sober and karaoke ish.
About gospel
Don't know.
karaoke. I don't know if you heard that, both gospel drag, but also gospel karaoke. So that might be
Okay.
something we could get into.
Okay. Now I know some of our drag brothers and sisters. They gonna have a little cocktail right before the song
Right,
happens,
and that's
but
okay. He knows our heart.
oh, Corey, wow. See, this is why I love these conversations. This is actually incredibly full in my spirit and heart. I'm so grateful that you joined us today. Before we log off, how can folks stay connected to you, follow your journey, or support your work?
Thank you for asking. Would love to have people follow me on LinkedIn. The name is Corey Yarbrough. There, please get involved with my organization, 826 Boston. Again, we offer free writing, tutoring, and publishing support to Boston Public School students. So you can follow us on any platform, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, 826 Boston, or visit our website at 826boston.org.
Wow. So y'all need to make sure you do all the things. You
All
know what I'm saying? Do all the things and make sure you support brother Corey in this incredible work that he is doing. And I'm just saying transformative. Even my students, when I was an educator, participated in 826 Boston, and I believe their voice and their trajectory was much more fulfilling because they had an opportunity to experience this wonderful program. Uh, so at this point, ladies and gentlemen, we have had a very incredible conversation with Corey Yarbrough, and it has been an incredible time. We want to make sure that you continue to lean in to more conversations as we move forward. I'm appreciative that you continue to choose this podcast as one of those that you play during your day. So that is all for our episode with Brave Voices in Education. Please subscribe, share this with your people, and if you're ready to go deeper, you can also grab some of our free tools that will be in the show notes. So continue to lead loud, lead whole, lead brave, and we will see you next time. Y'all take care.
Thank you.